I get so many comments and questions with people saying things like, "Hal, we've learned so much about the Clark County area, like Vancouver, Ridgefield, Camas, from your videos, but what about the cities and towns that lie beyond?" And in this video, we're going to talk about those. So we're going to be covering very compelling towns ranging from Le Center, Kalama, Woodland, Kelso, Longview, and Castle Rock. So if that's something you're interested in, stay tuned. Welcome back to Living in the Pacific Northwest with Hal Bird. I'm Hal Bird, and today we're going to be covering what lies beyond the 5 boroughs. So if you haven't seen the intro to this video, I have a precursor more related to the 5 largest towns in Clark County here. And today we're going to be covering moving north through the rest of Clark County, basically along the I-5 corridor. My husband has a prediction that just like Los Angeles, that expanded eastward all the way through the Inland Empire, which is actually where I grew up, the I-5 corridor is going to do the same. You've got obviously Portland and Seattle as the 2 major cities in the Northwest, and Vancouver is the 4th largest city today in Washington. And you know, we think that over time, there is going to be fill-in along that I-5 corridor, that people are going to continue to grow and inhabit those areas, and that they are going to change, I would say, in the long term. I don't think this is a short-term 5-year thing necessarily, but we did want to let people know about, as you head north out of Clark County and you go north of Ridgefield, because that's pretty much as north as we cover in most of the videos. It's not as north as we sell, but that's about as north as we've covered in videos. So that's what it's here for. Obviously, we started this channel, if you've been with us for a while or if you're new here, because we relocated to the Northwest and we wanted to be the friend that we didn't have when we moved here. When we moved here and we contacted real estate agents, they would not give us the time of day because we weren't moving immediately and we wanted to do something different. So now I am a licensed realtor and relocation specialist in both Oregon and Washington, primarily covering the Portland Metro and Southwest Washington areas. I am also a luxury certified agent, as well as being very focused on building a community with my clients. We have so many clients that relocate here, and that's not all that we do. We help people move to and within the area, but so many of our clients are relocation focused, and so we do tons with them. We give you things to do because you're new here. You might not know people. Maybe you have family or friends, but you can always, have more options. And if you're a homebody, you'll get the invitations and you just don't have to show up. And we love you all the same. But we did want to provide that opportunity for people to create community and to have events and things to go to that are exclusive to the people who work with us. So as we get started with this video, when my husband Jarrett and I were discussing it, we thought it made the most sense to just start from where a lot of people know the reference points that watch our channel. So we're gonna start from the southernmost and move north. And so the first up that we're gonna discuss is Le Center, Washington. So Le Center borders Ridgefield directly. It's actually just one exit north of Ridgefield on I-5, and it's more on the east side of I-5. So if you were to get off on Le Center Road, and go towards the east or the right, if you're coming from the south, you have Le Center. But if you go left or west off of I-5 as you're going north, you'd be in Ridgefield, which is where Illinois Casino is. There are 3 casinos off of that exit. You've got Illinois, which is this big, beautiful, huge casino with lots of different restaurants. There's a hotel. It's definitely the largest. And as you go into the town of Le Center, you've got 2 casinos there, like kind of card rooms from what I understand. I don't gamble, so I don't know. I've never been. Just what it is. Jared's laughing at me. Now, Le Center is interesting because it was originally founded in the 1800s as a trading post and ferry crossing. As you know, especially in our area of Washington, there are lots of rivers. And so this was actually a ferry crossing back then. It's rooted a lot in agriculture, the economy historically, especially in dairy, grains, and timber. Now, fast forward to today, all of the population numbers we're going to share are as of 2023, so we can just keep that consistent. We wanted to go with the more updated numbers rather than the census numbers that are now 5 years old. So the population is 4,357 people. Very small town. It's known for being a pretty peaceful area. You've got newer subdivisions, and it's one of the most affordable areas close to Vancouver. Now, I will say that a pro for this is that you do have another level of separation. So if you've heard us talk about Ridgefield and how it gives you another level of separation from Portland and city life, I would say Le Centre takes that one step further. And this isn't always true as we go north, because some of the cities are larger as we continue to go north. But Le Centre definitely still has that feel of separation, especially because as you come off the highway, the town is not right there. The town is, there's a little bit of a curved road to get into the town. And then from there, you have to, most of the homes that I've shown or been to in Le Centre, you have to go through the town and then further out, if that makes sense. That's not 100% always the case, but generally. And so you feel even removed from I-5. It's not, convenience is not the main focus of Le Centre. And so to touch on there's no like big grocery store there. There's a small grocery mart, I guess, if you will. You've got the 2 casinos, a great bakery. There's also a bar and grill in town that people have generally good reviews about from what I've seen. It's got a coffee shop, a pizzeria. So it's got a little bit of, I would say, like small town conveniences, but it doesn't have any like big box stores. So, and then the grocery store is just really small. So if you need to run out for milk or something, you don't have to drive all the way in town. But that is one thing that I will say, going, keeping on this theme of the additional separation, to get to things, you probably want to be prepared to drive 20 minutes in any direction to get to things that you need to get to, like the modern amenities. And from the town center, you're about 25 to 30 minutes away from PDX International Airport. So if you're looking at a map, it seems like it's very, very far, but you're still within 30 minutes of an international airport, being PDX. Now, I will say that one of the cons is that locals really know it for 2 things: gambling and drug problems. So, we never sugarcoat things on our channel. We try to keep it as real with you as possible and, share our knowledge and what we know. And so that's one of the things that I would say has been a knock against Le Centre. But if you're looking for an affordable up and coming area, I do think Le Centre is a good bet, because you have a lot of new housing development going in, which is going to continue to grow the population. So before I get the hate comments on this video, I do want to touch on the GMA, or the Growth Management Act in Washington, which was passed in 1990. This is an act that sort of put constraints on rapid, unchecked growth that was going on in the Puget Sound area in the early 90s, and it's still in effect today. This controls from a state level how fast, when, and what infrastructure gets put into place for every area in Washington. So if the Growth Management Act dictates that somewhere like Ridgefield, where my husband and I live, has to expand their infrastructure, they can't not widen the road on Pioneer. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, because it does protect the rural areas and natural resources, so it can limit growth in places like Le Centre, but it can also speed up growth faster than the population wants, and it limits how developers can subdivide. So it has huge implications when it comes to housing and development in Washington state. And so I just want people to understand that before they blame me or any other YouTubers for growing an area, or before they blame their city officials, because it's not handled entirely at a city level. A lot of that comes from the state level. And even more importantly, don't blame your new neighbors who are moving into an area in search of a better life for their family, just like every one of our families has done for literally the entire existence of humans. Humans have always migrated. So I don't care if you're a 4th generation Washingtonian, your family was, that would mean that the 5th generation back came here. So just because you've been here longer doesn't mean you get to own it. So in wrapping up our points about Le Centre, I would say that It's not quite suburban yet. It is mostly rural, but it's probably 10 to 15 years behind Ridgefield in terms of development. There are 2 small hiking trails in town, and then you have access to great hiking outdoors. Again, if you want land, this is a great place. So let's talk a little bit about the housing here and what's available. So for housing over the last 12 months, this is going from June 2024 to the end of May 2025. 154 homes were sold in La Center at a median price of $615,000, which means that half of the homes sold for less than $615,000 and the other half sold for more. So a lot of the reason that people are moving north is because of affordability. So I think it's worth noting that the amount of home you can get for the price, because if you just see $615 and you hear me say, oh, La Center is more affordable than Vancouver, you might be like, but the median price in Vancouver is actually lower than La Center. But I think you have to factor in what you're getting for your money. So as we're looking at what you can get for your money, the median square footage for homes sold over the last 12 months in La Center was 2,270, and that's compared to 1,720 in Vancouver. So for being very close in price, you're getting an additional 550 square feet in La Center on the median. Now I'm also gonna share for each of these areas what percentage of the homes sold were new construction, and also what percentage of the homes were on land that's over an acre, and about what the price was. So you can see the median, you can get a baseline, but then you can also see if I want an acre or more, what should I expect to spend? And if I want new construction, how available is it in that area? So in La Center, we had 50% of homes were new construction. That's huge, and that shows the amount of growth. And we had over 20% of the homes sold in the last year were on more than an acre, and you can expect to be around a median price of $700,000 if you're looking for an acre or more of land in La Center. So La Center might be for you if you're looking for affordable new construction or land, and you're willing to do without suburban conveniences, and either meaning you want to support the small towns there, they have a great bakery, people love their bakery there, or you're okay driving 20 minutes in either direction, either north to Woodland or south to Ridgefield and Vancouver, to get those suburban amenities. So next up, I just mentioned going north to Woodland. Woodland is our next stop on our tour of what lies beyond. So Woodland is now the next town north of La Center. It is larger than La Center at a population of about 6,500 people as of 2023. And it gets its name because of its history as being dense forest. There was lots of logging that happened historically in Woodland. This area is also known for its roots in farming, specifically strawberry and dairy farms. And I would add to that today there still is a large contingent of the town that has its roots in farming. You'll see a lot of flower farms there, specifically lilacs and tulips. There's several flower farms in Woodland that are operating today. Woodland is also split between 2 counties. You've got a very small section of it that's part of Clark County, and then the majority of Woodland is part of Cowlitz County. The dividing line is Horseshoe Lake and everything that's on the south side of the North Fork of the Lewis River. So if you follow the most northern part of the Lewis River and you look anything south, that's going to be Clark County, and anything north is going to be Cowlitz County. That can be a pro for some people, because if you're looking to do things a little bit more creative, all counties in Washington have to abide by the state level housing codes, but counties can enact their codes as well. And Clark County is generally known for being a little bit more strict and having a more robust set of restrictions than Cowlitz County. Cowlitz County is smaller, less resources, so you might have an easier time dealing with the county if you're looking to build something creative. In Woodland, you have tons of access to rivers. So if you're into boating or fishing, hiking, camping, Woodland is a great place to be. And you're not giving up as many suburban amenities in Woodland. Woodland has a very nice Walmart. They've got multiple grocery stores. There's a pretty large Safeway right off of I-5. It just has more amenities, more shops, more restaurants. Some of the locals complain, like, not great restaurants, like especially when you're comparing it to, say, like Portland and some of our better restaurants in Vancouver, but it does give you a lot more options than some of the rural areas like Amboy, or, you know, if you're way far out, and we're talking about going way east of I-5 even. So living in Woodland means you shouldn't have to go north to Longview or south to Vancouver for your everyday shopping. You should be completely fine. And then just looping back to La Center really quick, La Center is right in between Woodland and Ridgefield. So the closest Costco to La Center is gonna be in Ridgefield, closest Walmart is gonna be in Woodland. So if you live in La Center, you'll probably be going between Woodland and Ridgefield for a lot of your amenities that you don't have access to in La Center. So you've got a mix of newer and land in Woodland as well. And one of the biggest knocks against Woodland is that there's very high water bills. If you are on city water in Woodland, it can be very, very expensive. So if you're thinking about moving to Woodland, please reach out. We can talk about what that looks like, what the bills might be specifically related to water. This is definitely one of those cases where if I was gonna live in Woodland, I would wanna be on a well because the water rates are high. They're very high. So let's talk about housing over the last 12 months. We have 134 homes sold at a median price of $560,000. So we're actually going down from La Center with a median square footage of 2,211 square feet. So half of the homes were smaller than that sold and half were larger. Only 11% new construction here, but over 57% were on more than 1 acre. And those are gonna be priced from the mid sixes up to the $1 million mark. And I would say that Woodland might be for you if you want easy access to I-5 while having the flexibility of making mods like ADUs or having a second home on the property. And if you want land, Woodland is probably one of the best places in terms of a mix of convenience, land, and still having access to Portland, I-5, the airport. It's great. I think Woodland is a great, great place to live and a great option. The next town, we're going north again. Now we are in Kalama, Washington. So Kalama is about 15 minutes north of where we started in La Center, and it's about 30 minutes north of downtown Vancouver, and we'll just use that as a reference point throughout the video. So from the town center of Kalama, you're about 35 minutes to PDX International Airport, but we're still quite a ways south from the Seattle Airport or Seattle-Tacoma Airport, also known as SeaTac. You're still 2 hours south of SeaTac. So if you're moving north and you're thinking, oh, Kalama, I could either fly into Seattle or Portland, not quite there yet. So the history of Kalama is that it was a Cowlitz River steamboat town. It has its roots in railroad and timber. This actually used to be the endpoint of a pretty major railroad back in the day. I'll leave it vague like that. Now the population in Kalama is just over 3,000 people as of 2023. The highlight I would say in Kalama is the Columbia River waterfrontage. They have a pretty modern waterfront. They actually got a developed waterfront before Ridgefield, even though Ridgefield is a much more populated, faster growing city. So there you have a marina, so you can dock there. It's got an amphitheater, restaurants, dining. Probably notable, especially to local people, would be the McMenamins that's there. There's a McMenamins on the water right there. So if you are getting that McMenamins passport, we should probably do a video on McMenamins. Let us know in the comments if you want a video about it, because we did not understand it when we moved here. And to be honest, I still I get it, but I'm not in the culture of McMenamins. But I would be willing to do a video about it, and that would give me an excuse to go try the different places. So if you guys want that video, let me know in the comments. To me, the biggest thing that stands out about Kalama as you're approaching it is you're going from Woodland, which you can really see the hills off in the east, but you can see this flat town area. Once you move north of Woodland, you really start to see the hillside move closer to I-5 and closer to the river. And so the geography of Kalama is really defined by that hill. When you come off of it, I mean, it's like San Francisco to me in terms of the hill. Obviously not in terms of size. We're talking very rural town. So to me, Kalama's great if you want a small town feel and you want water views, you want river views, you want sun, because a lot of those homes that are up on the hill in Kalama have great light exposure. So on the sunny days, I mean, you could see for miles. You could have 180-degree views. There's some amazing real estate out there, especially if you're looking for views. And there's also a lot of community events and involvement in Kalama. So this is a really great small town with a strong culture. I would also say it's really becoming more popular. There's more interest growing for people who are remote workers or retirees who are looking for a quieter lifestyle, because you're not that far out of the big city, but you're just far enough away where you really feel like you're getting a small town. And so at this point, as we're moving north, you might be thinking, you might still have a reference point of everything south. So when you're thinking, well, where's the closest Target? You might have heard me mention the Target in Hazeldale, which is an unincorporated area of Vancouver on the west side, right off I-5. We're really sticking to that I-5 corridor today in our video. But actually, the closest Target is up in Longview, Kelso area. You're only 15 minutes to that Target compared to almost 30 minutes to get down to the one in Vancouver. So the nice thing about Kalama, you're squarely in Cowlitz County, and all of the amenities that you have in Longview outside of an airport, or, you know, you're not going to find in any of these places like Nordstrom's or an Apple store or like big retail. But you have proximity within, at this point, I think all of the cities we're talking about will be within 30 minutes to modern suburban and urban conveniences. So let's talk about housing in Kalama. Over the last 12 months, we have 67 homes sold at a median price of $535,000. And keep in mind, I said this is a great place for views. Now the median square footage, I think this is one of the smaller towns we're gonna cover in this video, is 1,825 square feet. So again, half the homes sold were smaller than that and half the homes sold were larger. Kalama is not a good place if you're looking for new construction, with less than 5% of the homes sold in the last year being new construction. However, over 38% of the homes were on more than 1 acre, starting as low as the mid fours and averaging around 700,000. So if you want land and views, Kalama is an amazing place to be. I would say that that is the reason that you would move to Kalama. You want a quiet lifestyle, you want views, and you want it at a still fair price in 2025. Now we are on to the fourth, I'll call it area, out of the 5 areas we're covering today, which is Longview / Kelso. And these are 2 towns that are kind of like sister towns. They rely a lot on each other. They work closely together. So that's why we're covering them as one area. So now the history of Longview is that it was a planned mill town, and it was built in the 1920s by the Long Bell Lumber Company. And Kelso, which is its twin city, was developed around the same time. Because of that planned development, you'll see that there are wide boulevards and really beautiful parks. Whereas Kelso, its small neighbor, was historically a hub for river and rail commerce. But Longview's early growth, because it was so tied to timber and paper mills, a lot of them are still operating today. Economically, that's one of the places where you'll see still a lot of the lumber industry. And that's really in the more west and southwest side of the town. Today, the economy is based more off of healthcare, logistics, manufacturing. This is the area that is the most affordable out of all the areas we're covering today, so I will get to that. Population-wise, Longview's population is about 37,000, and Kelso's population is just under 13,000. Longview is the county seat for Cowlitz County, and you'll see they share a lot, from schools to shopping to events. They're often lumped in. Even when you hear people talk about the area, it's like the Twin Cities. Where is that? Minneapolis and St. Paul. Like people might say Longview, but they mean Longview Kelso, or a lot of times you'll hear like Longview Kelso as just one continuous identifier. So it's a very affordable housing market, which has made it popular with retirees, people who've felt priced out of Clark County. A lot of those people have moved up to Longview for that reason. It's a small city, lower cost in terms of the cost of living. I will say a big con to Longview is that it has a reputation for petty theft and drug issues as well. A lot of times, just anecdotally, when I'm reading the Columbian, and I don't really watch the news, like the local news regularly, but when I hear of things, and you hear a lot of these like chases that start in Longview, Kelso and go down I-5, like I guess they're trying to get into Oregon, because you'll see sometimes like there was a crash maybe last year after a high-speed chase on I-5, and it started in Longview, Kelso. So, but I see like just anecdotally a lot of that stuff. It's like, oh, Kelso man, Longview man, whatever might happen coming south. So that's definitely something to know. One of the things we didn't talk about that I think is also really important to know about any of these areas once you are going north of Woodland, I would say, is you really have to be careful with winter weather, because I-5 can ice over and shut down. So if you live in Kalama, Kelso, Woodland, Castle Rock, anywhere north of Woodland really, you really have to be careful winter weather wise. So if you are a nurse and say you're gonna be working at the Legacy Hospital in Salmon Creek, we just did a video about healthcare in Clark County here, and you're thinking, oh, well, I'll live in Longview for a better cost, better price, house pricing, and you're thinking I'll live north of Woodland to get more bang for my buck, or I want to be on land. You want to be really careful about where you choose, because winter weather will affect your commute more than if you are in the general Clark County area and then the Cowlitz County part of Woodland. Those areas you should be fine. You should be able to commute pretty much anywhere in the Portland metro area from Woodland and south. Of course, if it ices, and like a couple years ago, I-5 iced, and I mean, it was rough. It was like 2 days before Christmas or something, 2-3 days before Christmas, and we thought if we could get out of our neighborhood and we got to I-5 where the trucks are, that it'd be fine, and it was still pretty dicey all the way, like way south into Oregon, like probably about halfway through Oregon until the roads were clear. So just something to keep in mind, kind of anecdotal about the weather. In addition to the reputation for just general crime, a lot of the real estate in Longview, Kelso can tend to be run down, not well maintained. Smaller homes, like if you're looking for like a 2-bed, 1-bath, it's a lot easier to find those small sub 1,000 square foot homes in Longview specifically. That being said, if you're looking for land, it's a great place, especially in the hills in Longview, like on the north side of Longview. Some of the most beautiful land views, different things like that I've seen have been up there. So I would say that if you're okay with a bit of a rougher edge and being in a part of town that's still kind of growing and developing, like it had this boom and then it was kind of, industry left a bit and, it hasn't made its full swing back yet, then it could be a good fit for you. One of the most beautiful parts of the city too is Lake Sacagawea Park. Great for walking, very cute homes around there. Like if you just went there, you'd be like, oh, this is a really cute town. But then if you go like closer to all the industrial part on the west side of town, you might be like, oh, I could see what Hal's talking about with these rundown towns or rundown homes kind of. But then if you go up in the hills, you'll be like, wow, like I can't believe I can get this much house with this view and this land for this price. It's a mixed bag, I would say, when it comes to Longview, Kelso. Beautiful parts, but it's definitely not perfect. So the things to watch when it comes to growth, I would say, is that there's been some revitalization projects like the Kelso Mall. That's where the Target we mentioned is. And also the waterfront, they're doing some development there. Another thing that makes Longview, Kelso really convenient is if you plan to go to the coast a lot, because you're kind of a straight shot out to the Astoria, Long Beach Peninsula area. It makes it very easy to get over there. Now for housing over the last 12 months, we have 740 homes sold at a median price, and this is our lowest, at $390,000, but also smallest home sizes with a median square footage of 1,543 square feet. Now, there's only about 9% new construction here, so a little bit of new construction, not an overwhelming amount. And about 14% of the homes are on more than 1 acre, and you can expect a median price of about $550 if you're looking at an acre or more of land. So I would say you should consider Longview, Kelso if you want more affordability, you want to be more north along I-5, and you want more of an urban feel. Of the areas that we're covering that are as you move north of the 5 boroughs in Clark County, Longview is the largest before you get to really like Olympia and Tacoma. So if you kind of want that geographical positioning, it can be really great. But I would say the majority of people, especially who are locals that have moved up here, it's mainly due to pricing. That's definitely the big draw. $390,000, you can't barely buy a house in Vancouver for that now. Now, the last town that we're gonna mention is about 15 minutes north of Longview, Kelso, and that's Castle Rock. It's actually named after volcanic rock that resembled a castle, so that's where it gets its name. If you're a Game of Thrones fan like my husband, you can call it Casterly Rock. That's his nickname for it. If you know, he has nicknames for a lot of things. He has his whole like own lingo going on. So early industries here were logging and boating. And today Castle Rock is known as the gateway to St. Helens, or to Mount St. Helens. It is the main road you would take to get to the St. Helens Visitor Center. So because of that, you do have some amenities. Actually, one of our favorite restaurants in all of the Portland metro area, Amaro's Table, is one of their 3 locations is up there. They've got a downtown Vancouver location. They have a location in Hazeldale, kind of on the border of Hazeldale and Salmon Creek. And then they have a location in Castle Rock. And we've been to all 3 locations, and I will say that the Castle Rock location has the best parking, is the largest, the decor is beautiful. Highly recommend. So if you're heading to St. Helens, even just as a tourist, I would highly recommend stopping there for lunch or dinner. They have fantastic cocktails. Anywho, that's not what we're talking about. So lifestyle-wise, Castle Rock has a small downtown area, very cute, lots of locally owned businesses. So the downtown area, very cute, but outside of the downtown area, it's super rural. So if you're looking for a rural lifestyle, this is a great place to be. Castle Rock down to downtown Vancouver, you're looking at about 45 minutes and about 55 minutes to the airport. So this is, when you get to Castle Rock, this is where you're pushing the hour commute into the city. And do you have to go to Portland for a lot of stuff? Not really, it just depends on your lifestyle. If you are a homebody or you work from home and you just, like some people just want to be at home with their pets. They want to be on their land, at home with their pets, and be able to get to the grocery store. You can just pop down to Longview, Kelso for that. So when you're doing your grocery shopping, if you live in Castle Rock, you'll probably just pop down to Longview, Kelso. Out there, they've got Safeway, Fred Meyer, Walmart, Super Center, whatever they call it. There's Target there. So, you know, the amenities you need, you can get down there. Then for like local restaurants, you know, you can stay in town. You know, it's very manageable. The next largest town, if you're going north, is going to be the Chehalis Centralia area. That's about 30 minutes north. But Longview, Kelso is much bigger, much more amenities and resources, and that's only 15 minutes away. If you have a job in the Longview, Kelso area, like I've spoken to people who are doctors and in the healthcare profession who are getting recruited up to like the Peace Health in Longview, like Castle Rock might be a good choice for you because it's still close enough to commute. It's not going to be that far of a commute, but like pace and lifestyle wise, it's like a world apart. Now, as we talk about housing, this is the last area we're going to talk about. We have a very small number of available homes. So over the last 12 months, we had 59 home sales at a median price of $515,000 with a median square footage of 1,874 square feet. Only 5% new construction, but here's what might excite you. 61% of the homes sold were on more than 1 acre, and the price point for those homes ranged from like the 400,000s on the lowest end. I saw like a handful of 400,000 homes to the highest priced homes, there were 800,000. So imagine like the type of home you can get. I'll actually show you the highest sold home, and here it is in Castle Rock. So the highest priced home sold in the last year in Castle Rock was a 4-bed, 3-bath home, 2,500 square feet on 5 acres. It sold for $875,000 and it was built in 2007. But I mean, most buyers today would love it. It's got tall ceilings, lots of windows, you know, the white cabinets, full tiled shower. It's got a shop. Did I mention this? It's on 5 acres. And then even the next highest one, 4-bed, 2.5 bath, 2,600 square feet on 5 acres, built in 2021. Like absolutely gorgeous home. Really cute, like blue cabinets, vaulted ceilings. It has a lot to offer. I would say that Castle Rock is for you if you don't need to commute to Portland or Vancouver, or you can deal with the long commute and you really want to be on land at the most affordable price possible. You know, it is definitely far out, and when we do go to Castle Rock, I've shown homes out there, you can really start to feel the drive, especially if you're coming from Vancouver. And I will say, this is really important because the most recent clients I had that were looking as north as Castle Rock, and even a couple places, like sporadic places, even north and farther out than that from, you know, our hub of Clark County, is that I wouldn't take the thinking that you have where you live and apply it to Washington. So what I mean by that is if you live in a place like Texas, like my clients did who were last looking at Castle Rock, and you think in your mind, well, I drive now an hour to everything, like, you know, or I'm 30 minutes away from the grocery store. It's not that big of a deal. It is when it's when it's dark at 5 or 4:30 in the winter and it's raining and you need to go to the grocery store. It is when you want to fly home for the holidays and I-5 is closed and you can't get to the airport. Our area, even though we have such a beautiful green, luscious landscape, is more dense in the areas where it's populated because of the geographical restrictions. We have the whole Cascade Mountain Range running alongside, dividing eastern and western Washington. So I would just caution you to be like, oh, well, I'm used to being, like, even in California, we were used to being an hour plus away from an international airport. My mom told me the most recent time that she went to LAX from where I grew up in Rancho Cucamonga, it took 3 hours. 2 of those hours were driving, and it was an hour to get off the freeway from the freeway exit to the terminal, which if you've been to LAX, you might know it's right off the 105. It's right next to it, but because of all the construction and it's been a mess. So if you're coming from Southern California and you're used to long drives, or you're, Texas where you're used to long drives and there's tons of sprawl, I would say that you will get spoiled up here in the Northwest getting used to the convenience of just having short commutes. I remember before I was in real estate, if we were looking at doing something and it was more than 30 minutes away, like 30 minutes was like, I had to really think about it and be like, do I really want to go? 30 minutes is so far. Whereas when I lived in California, I would drive an hour without thinking about it. Like at the drop of a dime, we'd be like, hey, let's go to LA today. Okay. Hey, let's go to San Diego today. Okay, because you're used to it. But I would say that's gonna wear off the longer you're in the Northwest. So just a word of caution. So in wrapping up, final thoughts. All of the towns we've mentioned offer a much different feel and pace than Vancouver or Portland. So if you're looking for like more space or more affordability, it's great. But this is where we think we will see development and progress continue to fill in that I-5 corridor, because it logistically makes the most sense as we're growing, that as the Northwest is growing, and almost every area in the country has seen population booms. And I think that this middle section of I-5 is just ripe for development. Hate it or love it, I think it is what it is. I think developers that have sway with the cities and at a state level and the money to make code changes, and we can all criticize government and the way development's run, but for the things that you and I as regular citizens cannot change, I think that this is where things are headed. And sometimes that can be a good thing because it gives much needed resources to areas. So better internet access, more connectivity, more job opportunities to locals. It's always a two-sided coin. So let us know in the comments, do you want us to do a deeper dive or a spotlight on any of these particular towns or cities? Let us know in the comments. We absolutely love to hear from you guys, to know what you're liking about our videos, what you want to know more about. We'd be happy to share more information with you. We have so much information to cover. That's probably why this video is so long, and we could go even deeper. So just let us know if that's of interest to you. If you're thinking about moving north of Vancouver or to the surrounding areas, I would love to connect with you, whether you're looking to move from out of the area, like you're relocating, or you're just looking to move within. You're moving from Vancouver to Castle Rock or from La Center to Washougal. I would be happy to help you on your move. So make sure to like this video, check that you're still subscribed, share it with a friend, maybe your hesitant spouse if you're looking for land and looking for something beyond what we call the 5 boroughs of Clark County. I've enjoyed sharing this with you, and I will catch you guys next time. Ciao.